starting with Richard Brzezinski.
Good evening. In tonight's town council meeting packet is a series of WSA documents provided by the town manager to the town council for their information. One of those documents is a draft WSA communications plan. Although intended to address the upcoming bond conversion for a temporary period of time, it actually provides a valid framework that can be applied for future WSA communications. Unfortunately, it does not address the deficiencies present with the current monthly WSA meetings. That is, conducting meetings in a very small conference room that's not conducive to public attendance, and not live streaming, recording, uploading the meetings to YouTube. And I know this committee has talked about that previously. I just wanted to reiterate my concern that I hope that will be in your formal recommendation to the town council. The second item of note is a new risk register. And this spreadsheet currently addresses the bond conversion process. It's a spreadsheet town managers put together, identify possible risks and mitigation strategies for those risks. In the register is a column for the responsible owner of a particular mitigation strategy. However, some of these responsible parties are not technically WSA members, and it made me realize that we haven't really addressed the role of the finance director, the town treasurer, and the town attorney in regards to their roles and responsibilities within the WSA. Nothing is mentioned in the town charter about their relationship with the WSA, and there's nothing that I'm aware of within the WSA that talks about how they work within the WSA. So I hope in your recommendation in regards to the relationship between the town council and the WSA and that relationship, that you address those roles, at least tell the town council we need to address those roles in some sort of a permanent document, whether that be a town charter revision, whether that be in the policy and procedures manual the town manager is creating, but we really should define what their roles are, because they are town employees. They're technically not part of the WSA yet. They have an active role with the WSA on a regular basis. And then finally, in the WSA's agenda this week, there's a request to appropriate $1 million from a, quote, special fund to cover operating expenses. The current town charter only identifies 4 financial accounts associated with the WSA. A special fund is not one of them. So we know that there's a whole bunch of accounts that are associated with the WSA. The town charter only addresses those enterprise accounts. But for the purpose of transparency, I think the WSA should identify to the public in some sort of document, again, whether it be a policy procedures manual, some sort of a permanent document, these are all of the financial accounts that are associated with the WSA. I have no idea what the special fund is. Clearly it has over $1 million, so they're going to transfer $1 million out of it. Is it a reserve fund? What is it? But I think for transparency, it would help if those individual financial accounts were identified. You don't have to say what the account number is or how much money is in it, but just say, we have these accounts, these are their names, and these are the purpose of those accounts. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard, I'm assuming you're going to repeat this at the town council public participation.
You are a mind reader.
Great. Next we have Frankie Popolowski.
I agree with everything Rich said. We really don't still know what's going on, and it's very, very frustrating. At the beginning of all of this, you were supposed, well, it was our understanding that you would make recommendations at the end, and what caused this, and who's responsible for it. But we really don't get that from you. If you can't find out who's responsible and what caused it, how are you going to make any recommendations? Because that's the stuff that can't happen again. And Michelle, sorry. You said that the bipartisan videos will eventually eventually be posted on YouTube. Since this is, maybe next week might be the last meeting, what are you waiting for? The town doesn't really know what goes on in here. Rob takes all these videos and he posts them on his site, but it's not going out to all the townspeople. And with this coming to a close, I think it's time that they got posted. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so our business today is to review the recommendations and make any necessary adjustments. Let's see. Too many documents open.
Do we want to start with the executive summary?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find here.
Okay. I can start.
That'd be great,
Okay,
thanks.
great. Executive summary. The dispute between the town of Watertown and the city of Waterbury centered on increased rates for water and sewer services provided by Waterbury to Watertown. Originating from a 2018 rate hike that eliminated discounts for out-of-city customers, the conflict led to a multi-year battle culminating in Watertown owing over $34 million in unpaid bills and interest. The matter was resolved in late 2025 with Watertown making a full payment of $36.1 million to Waterbury, funded in part by a voter-approved bond. Watertown's town council created a 5-member bipartisan committee to make recommendations to prevent future issues. I'm going to pause for a second for reading. I'm going to say that one of the things that we're going to do is post this executive summary as well as all the documents that we're reviewing tonight on the website for community review so that we can get feedback the next week.
Right.
So as I'm reading this, it's super important that we want your feedback and we're going to post it to get it. Change of water and sewer charge water and sewer bipartisan committee. To recommend safeguards that will help prevent the situation from arising in the future. To recommend policies and or procedures to ensure the public remains informed. To examine the business relationship between the town council and the water and sewer authority and recommend any appropriate changes. Background. Waterbury has supplied water services to Watertown since 1939 and sewer services since 1951 under long-standing agreements. Historically, Watertown benefited from discounted rates as an out-of-city customer. In 2018, Waterbury discontinued these discounts, resulting in a doubling of water prices and a more than 300% increase in sewer rates. Watertown contested the hikes, arguing they were unjustified and continued paying at the previous rates while challenging the increases legally. Watertown ultimately lost the lawsuit to Waterbury, owing $34 million in interest and debt. Process. Meetings were held weekly beginning November 24th, 2025 and continuing through March 2026. People interviewed: Franklin Pilsey, Paul Jessel, Joe Massey, John Gavalis, Jonathan Ramsey, Jerry Bukowski, Dave McMahon, Mark Ramo, Maria Guerrera, Bill Hedberg, Mary Ann Rosa, and their positions are named in this document. The following were asked to interview but either were unable to attend or did not want to be interviewed: Vincent Caterino, Jim Sugren, Deb DeCina, Ray Prima, Rachel Ryan, and Bob Skinner. Recommendations: to recommend safeguards that will help prevent a situation from arising in the future. Develop a risk management policy, attachments 1, 2, and 3. Develop a WSA risk management policy to follow. Budget multi-year forecasting, attachment 4. Number 2, to recommend policies and or procedures to ensure the public remains informed. Adopting the executive session best practices for all town boards and commissions, attachment 5. Town council and town manager establish strong multimodal communication plan, especially for critical issues: email, website, podcasts, printed materials to accompany tax, water, sewer bills. Move WSA meetings to TC chambers, allowing for more attendees and easier presentation and ensure recording. 3, to examine the business relationship between the town council and the water and sewer authority and recommend appropriate changes. This relationship was established by the town charter and CT state statute to prevent politics from interfering with rate setting. Add ex officio member from town council to WSA board. WSA representative presents to town council quarterly at town council meetings. Presentation should follow guidelines established by WSA risk management policy. Additional attachments to be added. Number 6, Franklin Tennessee water sewer history between Watertown and Waterbury. And that is the executive summary. It addresses some of the things that I think were brought up, but importantly, again, this will be posted to be read and reviewed. Do we want to get into the individual documents?
Oh, we do, but I
Yes.
do want to stop because I have a very good suggestion made after the last meeting. And it was, instead of the WSA representative presenting quarterly, that they present monthly, which I've spoken to Mark Primo about, and we can do that. If we're all in agreement to make that recommendation, make that change from quarterly to monthly, or bi-weekly, bi-monthly, bi-monthly.
So every 2 months.
No,
Every 2
every
weeks.
2 weeks, every 2 weeks. So every time there's a town council meeting, we should have the town should have an update as to what's going on.
And is the recommendation that continue in perpetuity?
I think it should continue until it doesn't need to anymore. That being said, I know it's more than likely should continue through next year because we're gonna be talking about the ban to bond conversion and rates.
So if we're going to do it that often,
Yeah,
I would make a recommendation that we put a date by which we review
Mhm.
whether or not we should continue doing it that often.
okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah. It does, and maybe it should be monthly, every 2 weeks. What do you all
I
think?
mean, I think monthly is reasonable.
Right, monthly is sufficient, okay. We'll do monthly, and we'll see if we can put that it will be reexamined at the end of
Fiscal year
2027.
26, yeah. Right.
I think if you make the motion to do it monthly, just keep it in perpetuity.
Yeah,
Just keep it going.
Okay.
I think that allows another level of transparency with the town more so.
okay,
Make a recommendation that we do it monthly and keep it going.
all right,
I second.
excellent, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Great, okay, we'll make that change.
I had a couple of things on the executive summary.
Sure.
One's a kind of a small issue, right? That first paragraph there, the last sentence, where it said Watertown's town council created a 5-member bipartisan committee to make recommendations to I think it says to prevent future issues, right? What I would do there is change that sentence to basically say Watertown's town council created a 5-member bipartisan committee to make recommendations, and then it's really the next 3 things. It's the charge of the water and sewer bipartisan committee. Does that make sense, what I'm saying there, Michelle?
I'm looking.
Because I want to just be clear in this document, our mandate was not to sort of point fingers or say, here was the issue, here was the
Right,
problem.
right.
It was to make recommendations and align with these that should just be math, that should be something easy for the finance department to pull together. That way, everybody's just on the same page with.
Okay.
I like that idea, it increases transparency.
Yeah, it's just, it's something that, there shouldn't be a lot of debate about it. It is what it
It
is,
is what it is.
but the numbers, I just prefer the consistency of the numbers to add up everywhere. And then the last item I had, which was really kind of consistent with Rich's comment, one of his comments in here, we talked about the business relationship, and we talked about it at some of the meetings, but it didn't really, it didn't rise to the level of a recommendation per se, because it's not really changing anything, but and I'm happy to kind of draft something here a little bit. I do think there's some clarity needed around, when we talk about the business relationship here between the town council and the water and sewer authority, implicit in that is what is the role of, I'll use the term administrative staff within the town to support the water and sewer authority, right? Meaning, from the charter's perspective, the town manager is the administrative head of the water and sewer authority. And by default, that means the rest of that org chart is available to support the water and sewer authority. It is not its own autonomous agency sitting over here that has to have its own finance director and its own, its own staff, right? And typically from a kind of a financial perspective, you would allocate some of the time that people spend on those things, get allocated to the water and sewer authority's budget so that it gets recovered in rates, essentially a little bit, right? So the town manager spending 5% of his time on water and sewer authority, 5% of his pay gets picked up in the rates of water and sewer, right? Same kind of idea with the finance director or other sort of administrative staff. So there shouldn't be an issue with the town as a whole supporting the water and sewer authority. And again, the town manager is the administrative head of the water and sewer authority. I mean, he's ultimately responsible for the day-to-day operations of the organization, right? And then as well as the town council, right? The water and sewer authority actually has pretty narrow roles in terms of recommending a lot of things. They are the rate-setting body, right? And they have some other things for the charter, but in general, they're making a lot of recommendations. The town council is the ultimate authority on that. So again, it never rose to me as like a recommendation per se. It wasn't changing anything, but it's really, do we want to use this document as an opportunity to kind of clarify that working relationship?
So how would we articulate that?
And it could just be clarifying, it could just be the recommendation goes in here as terms of clarifying the role of how the town supports the water and sewer authority or oversees the water and sewer authority. And if we drafted something, I think we'd want the town manager certainly to weigh in and say, okay, is this consistent with how you think it works? But I think again, it would help the public understand a little bit there.
How
Yeah.
everyone interacts, how the
Yeah.
pieces fit together.
Yeah.
Do you wanna take a shot at it?
I can, yeah, I
Shoot
can.
it, if you can, shoot it to me,
Yeah.
along with your other two recommendations.
Okay,
Because
Yeah,
yeah, I'll do that tonight then.
and then I'll shoot it out to you guys, or shoot it to all of us,
Yeah.
whichever.
Because you're bringing up a really interesting point. For someone who is on well and septic, right, for
Mhm.
example, they're not a ratepayer.
Correct.
They're paying the town manager to do work on the water and sewer authority
Correct.
if that money isn't directly tagged to the rates.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
pennies, but
Well, it adds up. I
it
mean,
adds up.
Right,
Right.
and that's very normal practice, that is,
Yeah.
That you're typically, some of your typical general fund costs would get covered by rates if they are specifically being done to provide, utility services.
But it would be really cool if we can kind of delineate that in a structured way. Which maybe speaks to what Rich was saying, but also then helps us
Yeah.
define that relationship
Yeah.
a little better.
And I would guess it already is, there's probably already an allocation policy, those are all
Okay.
things that, auditors go through and stuff like, I would imagine. But that's not in the weeds enough for them, but.
Great.
There shouldn't be hidden, I mean, from an audit perspective, right, from the financial statement perspective, there's no hidden accounts. I mean, everything, that's part of what the audit's doing, it's, everything's adding up and, so how some of those things are talked about and, and how they're named or whatnot, or I'm not, the charter lays out, I think, 4 accounts. I think it lays out a water operating account, a sewer operating account, a water capital, a sewer capital account. So I think those are the 4 in the charter. I don't know if there's a 5th reserve account or some other item in there, but, to me, that's just, it's a bit of an operational decision sometimes. If there's another fund that needs to be there, but, from a reporting perspective, talk about all the funds that are out there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, do we want to go through the individual documents, starting with the litigation policy briefing? And again, so I'm going to try to have this turned into a PowerPoint so that we don't have line upon line next week.
For presentation purposes.
For presentation.
We're gonna post the full document.
This whole thing is
Yeah.
going out on the website, but for presentation purposes, you wouldn't be able to read it, it'd be too small. So we'll try and convert this into a PowerPoint, but these documents will be on the Water Sewer Bipartisan Committee website and everywhere else I can get them. So, litigation risk management policy, not going to read through the whole thing. But we're saying the goal is to ensure major legal decisions are made with clear financial analysis, independent legal evaluation, and appropriate governance oversight. Safeguards are exposure forecasting, independent legal review, supermajority oversight, reserve planning, settlement review, appeal safeguards, a litigation dashboard, and an early warning system. Then there is a litigation policy executive version that goes into the details around the forecasting. The oversight thresholds, something interesting came up as far as the tier 1, which is at a level of 25,000. And I was asked, so how do we suggest it be handled when the town has a lawsuit, the town has a $25,000 deductible for litigation, which is a good point. I mean, tier 1's 25,000. And if
I'm not
so
sure.
what I'm saying is perhaps that number too low? Should we raise it? If there's a $25,000 deductible from the insurance company for liability?
I personally don't think so. I personally think that if you
Leave
got
it?
that,
Leave it?
because even if there's a liability at the same level,
It's still 25,000. Yeah, I was, someone had emailed me and said, how do you want to handle this if it's a $25,000 deductible?
I mean, part of this is making, creating more transparency about what's
Mhm.
actually happening. So
Mhm.
if we start raising these levels, we have less transparency.
That's true. That's true.
And I mean, I think ultimately, we're gonna make these recommendations, then the council's gonna debate them a little bit, right? And there's gonna be a little more, I think, staff review and input, and all of those sort of things to kind of vet and tweak if somebody says, hey, this isn't practical for this reason, but we're trying
Right.
to, as a group, move the ball forward here with what we think are good recommendations that are gonna, there's gonna be quite a bit of detail work to go on some of these.
And we're obligated to put forth the best possible.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. So tier 1 is 25,000, tier 2 is 75,000. It requires an updated exposure forecast and evaluation of settlement versus trial and independent legal review. And then tier 3 would be formal council briefing, and an updated fiscal impact analysis. And we're recommending that any action advancing litigation beyond Tier 3 requires approval by a 2/3 supermajority vote of the town council. This includes authorization to proceed to trial, authorization to file or continue an appeal, and authorization of litigation spending beyond Tier 3. We're recommending that beginning at Tier 2, the town obtains an independent legal review from outside counsel not previously involved. We also,
And I think, you know, one of the things we've either talked about here, and I just want to, I thought about this over the week, one of the pushbacks on this point is going to be the expense of hiring this additional legal counsel. And the point of it is to save the expense of getting ourselves engaged in lawsuits that we shouldn't be engaged in. So it's worth the investment, and keeping this in place and having that second opinion is really critical, because if we get rid of that, then the protection of getting ourselves engaged in something that we can't control is gone. So that's not going to show up in the written document, but as we process this and we want to defend this document, that cost is an investment.
well, it is, and it ultimately would be up to town council to approve it, so.
course.
And
Yeah.
I would think town council would approve it.
Yeah.
We have mandatory settlement review. Formal settlement review shall occur when the total projected exposure is over 250,000. Probability of adverse outcome exceeds 40%. Independent legal review recommends settlement consideration, and the estimated litigation costs exceed 50% of expected settlement value. And again, this would be incumbent on the town council to approve this. If there's an appeal, same thing, the town must obtain an independent appeal viability review, which should analyze grounds for reversal, applicable standard of review, supporting legal precedent, estimated probability of success, estimated appellate costs, and updated exposure analysis. The town attorney shall also present a quarterly litigation dashboard summarizing all active litigation matters. And I think that we may want to put a start date on that. I don't think it would hurt.
Is it immediately too soon?
Pardon?
Is it immediately too soon?
Well, I think the town attorney will need time to prepare it, but it's March. I think we could say, beginning first town council meeting in May.
I mean, we're not asking for a lot of this. It's the case,
Right,
where we are in it, how much it's
Cost.
cost, and the likelihood of settlement, right?
exactly.
So, that should be all relatively clear information he has at his fingertips anyways, he or she. And, I don't really see that as something that needs a whole lot of time to prepare for.
Probably not, but I'm also thinking by the time we get this to town council, they approve it, we get it to the town attorney, I don't think April 1st is unreasonable.
Yeah, we just say
It's-
within 30 days,
Yeah,
or
within
45 days.
30
Right,
days.
depends on
Even better.
who knows how long, yeah.
Yeah, even better,
That's
within
great.
30 days to approval, perfect.
That is a great thought, Michelle.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you. Litigation early warning system, town attorney must notify town council when the town becomes aware of potential claims that could expose the town to 50,000 or more liability. And within 30 days, the town attorney shall provide a pre-litigation risk assessment, including description, preliminary exposure estimate, legal merit analysis, and recommended resolution strategy. Then there is attachment 3 is the litigation risk oversight policy council resolution, which is fine. Is this all? Yeah. And adopted by Watertown Town Council this whatever day of March, hopefully, 2026. And that is that.
Michelle,
Yes.
the town does not have a $25,000 deductible.
Okay, thank you. Attachment 4 is the 5-year financial forecast policy, which is to promote the long-term financial stability and responsible management of the Watertown water and sewer utilities. Watertown Water and Sewer shall prepare and review a 5-year financial forecast, which shall include operating revenue projections, expense projections, capital improvement plan, financing assumptions, debt and reserve projections, and rate implications. Attachment 5 is recommendations standardizing executive sessions, which I think is pretty cut and dry. And it goes through 2/3 vote, best practices, and the conclusion is that these recommendations will provide the town of Watertown with a robust defense against Freedom of Information Commission complaints, which can result in civil fines or voiding of town contracts. It will standardize our executive session descriptions and make it a little more transparent. Then we have the Pilacy report, which I'm sure many people have seen. We've got Bill Hedberg's email responses to our questions, and we have his water document attached as well. So again, all of these will be posted on the website. We will not do a PowerPoint of the water document because it's like hundreds of pages long. Now, I do know, as Richard said, in our town packet, Mark Ramo, the town manager, has come up with the risk management for water and sewer and a communication plan for how they will communicate to the townspeople. So anyone who's interested in staying for that, I think a lot of thought went into it. It may not be perfect, but I think it's a really good start as far as communicating, being transparent, and looking at the issues that occurred in the past.
I appreciate that he is being proactive. I certainly hope that it doesn't preclude him acting on our recommendations in the town council. I wouldn't think it does.
He actually asked me if it was all right if he presented this to town council today because he didn't want to interfere with the work our committee's doing.
Great.
So, you know, he's on board too. Are there any other changes we want to make to any of these documents? No?
No, good.
Dan? Okay, again, so next week, we will get these documents out on the website this week. We'll put them into a PowerPoint for a presentation for next Monday. And I would expect the majority of that meeting will be public participation, or at least hearing from what our townspeople have to say. And then subsequent to that, we can make any necessary adjustments and and then my goal would be that we present at the following town council meeting.
So, do we want to set a goal to have the documents up on the website by Wednesday morning?
As
by
soon as I can
Monday?
get them up there.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
be there.
right, so I'm just thinking.
Yeah, no, I would, I wanna get Adam's information first.
Yeah, I'll do that tonight.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
And then we all need to be able to have time to look at it. and
One
agree.
last time.
Yeah, one last time, and then I would think by end of business Thursday at the latest. I don't like to put things up on Friday if possible, because people go away and do this and that. So try and get it as early as possible, but no later than end of business on Thursday.
What I wanna do is, when it's up, I would really wanna blitz the community with communication
Mhm.
that it's there, so that people can look at it. And I wanna encourage people to come next Monday, and give us feedback. To me, this next week is our most important week.
Absolutely.
So, and what we hear from people next week, is gonna be super important. So, I think we put together something quality, and I look forward to hearing back, but I wanna make sure we get a lot of eyes on it.
It was also suggested to me that, I'm not sure when Mark Raymond will be doing his next podcast, but it was suggested that for him to say, we are presenting this next Monday, blah, 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 you know, please come. So that may be another avenue we can use to get it out there, so I will follow up with him on that as well. I'm not sure when the next podcast is. But yeah, and I'll put it on my Facebook page, you can put it on your Facebook page, and we'll just share it.
Can you put it on the town page?
I would think, I will try and get it everywhere I can get it.
Yeah, I think we can
Yeah,
push to get it every possible place.
Get Lauren and Lisa to work on getting them as many places that are appropriate.
Well, we're getting
that we
nods,
can.
that's
Yeah,
good, yeah.
nods good. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?